Hi, hello, welcome to Narayana IAS. This is Karthik Moni. I'm here for daily news analysis for 16th February 2024. For today's session, I have picked up 5 important articles from Hindu as well as Indian Express. The first article is taken from the page number 1, the Indian Express. So it is about the historical judgment given by the 5-judge constitutional bench. So in the judgment, it highlighted that the information about the funding to a political party is highly important for a voter to exercise his rights. So from this article, we are going to discuss the issues surrounding the electoral bonds that are highlighted in the judgment. And moving ahead, we are going to discuss an article from page number 10, Hindu, the places of worship and an unsettling judicial silence. Right? So in this article, we are going to discuss the role of judiciary in ensuring the freedom of religion. Being a multicultural society, it is very important for a nation to ensure secularism. So this is the context of the article which we are going to discuss. And moving ahead, the third article is taken from the page 12 of Hindu newspaper, What is Behind Ladakh's Unrest. After the abrogation of Article 370, the protest for the demand for full statehood and for including Ladakh in the 6th schedule is increasing. So from this context, we are going to discuss the rationale for having such demands. Moving ahead, we are going to discuss another article from page number 12, Hindu. Why did Kosova face delay in Schengen Approval? After the announcement of unilateral independence, the Kosovo faced severe hardship. So recently, the European Union considered its petition to access to Schengen zone. So from this article, we are going to discuss the Balkan region, so political as well as the geographical aspects of the Balkan region. And also we are going to discuss the basic details, factual details related to the Schengen zone and the Schengen agreement. And finally, we are going to discuss an article from page number 16, Hindu. The global meat urges India to augment pulse production to meet nutritional needs. So here, I'm going to discuss the status of pulse production in India. And finally, we are going to discuss 5 Prelims Practice question and 1 Mains Practice question at the end. So please pay attention and please watch the video till the end. If you like this initiative, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Pursue your UPSC dream with Narayana IAS Academy. Our esteemed 5-year and 3-year integrated programs now open for admissions in Hyderabad, Vijayawada and Nellore. This program includes a robust R&D backed initiatives, daily news analysis, daily news read, a comprehensive review program for a broader understanding of current affairs, and NCERT program, a foundational course that covers all NCERT syllabus that is crucial for the UPSC preparation. And also, it includes mentorship sessions and regular test series that are very much important for systemic learning and assessments. So coming to the first article, we are going to discuss the historical judgment given by the 5-judge constitutional bench. So it highlighted that the right to information about the funding to a political party is essential to exercise right to vote. So this is the article. So exam point of view, it is very important. We have to think, we have to relate from the perspective of transparency in the political funding. And also we have to know about the issues surrounding the electoral bond scheme. And also we have to relate this topic to the larger dimension, that is electoral reforms. We also had a previous year question in 2017 related to the proposed electoral reforms in 2016. So whenever there is an article or event or intervention by the government or judiciary regarding the electoral reforms, then we have to pay attention because we can expect some mains questions is possible in the upcoming examination. Coming to the context, recently a 5-judge constitutional bench in the Association for Democratic Reforms versus Union of India 2017 case, it struck down the electoral bond scheme, citing that it is unconstitutional because it is anonymous and it is violating the right to information that was protected under Article 19(1)(a) of Constitution. So this is the context of this article. From this context, we have to know about the background of the scheme, and also we have to know about the issues, and also we have to know about the issues highlighted by the judgment. So the last part is very important. The issues highlighted by the judgment is very important. We can expect some questions, and we also can use those points as a valid justification for our answer. So moving ahead, coming to the background part, the origin of this electoral bond scheme, we can trace back it to the amendments to FCRA Acts in 2016. So the government came up with a bill called Finance Act 2016 to amend the FCRA Regulation Act, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, to allow the foreign source to fund political parties. Here they amended the term foreign source. So in this aspect, the government allowed foreign companies who are having major stake in the Indian companies can fund the political parties. So this is the origin. So after that, in 2017, the electoral bond scheme was introduced by amending 4 other legislation through Finance Act 2017. The first one is Representation of the People Act 1951 and Income Tax Act 1961. These 2 legislation were amended to ensure the anonymity. So the political parties are excluded to disclose their the amount received through the electoral bonds, that is regarding the Representation of the People Act amendments. And also the companies are not necessitated to disclose the amount spent for buying such electoral bonds. That was done in the Income Tax Act 1961. And apart from that, the Companies Act 2013 was also amendment to exclude to remove the limit of donation from existing number of 7.5% of net the profit of last 3 years. So this limit was removed by amending the Companies Act 2013, and finally RBI Act was amended to authorize central government to issue such bonds for political funding. So this is about the amendment which was made to introduce the electoral bonds. Right here, I want to highlight 2 important aspects. One is anonymity. So here, the anonymous donation to the political party was allowed, and also the political parties doesn't have any obligation to disclose the source and also the quantum of donation. Yes, anonymity is problem. So buying the bonds, anonymity is there, and also after receiving the fund, the source is not disclosed, and also the quantum of amount which they got is also anonymous. So here, by the means of electoral bond scheme, after 2018, around 16,500 crore was mobilized. So the sum itself very huge. The amount is 16,500 crore. Right. So this is with respect to the background. So now we have to know about the contours of the scheme. So electoral bond scheme is nothing but a interest-free bearer instrument. Interest-free means like it won't give any interest like any other the financial instruments. Here it is named as bearer instrument. Why? Because the institution, that is political party who is bearing those bonds, will get the money. That is why it is named as interest-free bearer instrument. It works under the principles of promissory note. This is also an additional information. So here, the first aspect, it does not carry any name of buyer or payer. So anonymity is there, and any person who is a citizen of India, individual, or a body corporate which is incorporated or established in India. So individual also can buy, and also a body corporate can also buy such bonds. So this is the second information that we have to know. And only the authorized branches of the State Bank of India was given permission to sell such bonds. That is the third information. And there is some limit or conditionality. It can give bonds with some denominations. We are having 5 denominations. So that also we have to know. And also there are some conditions to sell those bonds. Like it can be sold only during 10 days in a selected months. That is January, April, July, and October. And also, there are some other conditionalities that which political parties can have can access to such benefits. That is also there. So only the registered, it is not recognized political party. We have to make difference. It is not recognized political party. It is registered political party which secures 1% of the vote in the last general election, either in the House of People, that is Lok Sabha, or Legislative Assembly. So this is the condition. So exam point of it is registered political party, not the recognized political party. And also it has to be encashed within 15 days. Otherwise the amount will be transferred to the PM Relief Fund. These are some of the basic details regarding the electoral bond scheme. It is a interest bearer instrument, and it can be sold only by the SBI, and both citizens as well as the body corporate can buy the electoral bonds, and it has to be encashed within 15 days. Some basic information. So now we have to know about the judgment. So exam point of view, this particular segment is very important. So first dimension is anonymity. So anonymity is there both in the funding side, the phase in which the bonds are buying, the company side, and also in the aspects of reception in the political parties also. The disclosure is not needed. In this aspect, the anonymity is there. So here it is violating the right to information that is protected under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution. Yes, right to information, access to information is very much important to ensure the transparency, and transparency is very important to ensure some institution or political party to make accountable. So this is very important. So second aspect is that to ensure the right of the voter. So to exercise the voting in an effective manner, this information about the funding is very important, right? Two dimensions, anonymity, and in exercising the voting rights in an effective manner, these two aspects are very important. And third aspect, there is no clarity in differentiating the individual who is contesting the election and the political party. It is not needed also, right? So political party is also a relevant political unit. So here the right to information about the person who is contesting the election, it is very important. So in this aspect, like we can also relate the same principle to the political party also. So in this aspect, it is violating. And finally, the conceptual aspect, the double proportionality standard was applied to make this provision unconstitutional. So what is meant by double proportionality standard? So that we have to know. So here there are two conflicting values are functioning. One is privacy and another one is right to information. These two conflicting values. So here, whenever an initiative, a government is trying to balance between two conflicting values, the government have to ensure that the right to access to information is also there. So it has to create an avenue that there are some opportunities we can able to access those information. But in this case, it is not there. And also, it is the responsibility of the government to prove that there is no other good alternative than this. So these two has to be there whenever there is a conflict between two values. So here also, it is not meeting the standard. So that's why the Supreme Court struck down this provision and it made it as unconstitutional. So now we have to know the other dimension of the scheme. So here, the extent of influence of corporates into the election that we have to know. So here it is clearly arbitrary in nature because the disproportionate influence. So when we consider the contributions made by the individuals and contributions made by the corporate contribution is very high. In this aspect, like we can able to relate that the influence of corporate in the election process, and in this aspect, the influence in the political parties is very high. So this is not a good sign. And second aspect, the court highlighted that the scheme doesn't differentiate between the profit-making companies and loss-making companies. And also, it highlighted that there is a possibility that there is a more chances of loss-making companies that contribute more money to the political parties to expect some benefits in return. So that is possible, and there is no such there is no mechanism to check such practices. And finally, the unrestrained corporate influence is possible. By amending the Corporate Act 2013, it removed the limit of donation. Previously, only the 7.5% of the net profit of any corporate can only be donated. But this limit was removed by the Finance Act 2017. In this aspect, there is a possibility of unrestrained corporate influence in the election. It is not advised. And one more thing, even though the government came up with the justification that this bond is not tradable, there is no solid mechanism to check the trading of such bonds. So this is also another problem the judgment highlighted. So next we have an article related to the Places of Worship Act 1991. Exam point of view, it is highly relevant. So amidst consecration of Ayodhya Ram Temple and also the litigation surrounding the Gyanvapi Mosque, so exam point of view, it is highly relevant. So UPSC, we have to think from the perspective of religious freedom, secular principles, and most importantly, the role of judiciary and legislature in ensuring the constitutional principle of secularism. That is very important. We also had a previous year question in 2018 related to the comparison of different model, Eastern as well as the Western model of secularism. So secularism as a concept is very important. We can also expect some similar questions in the upcoming examination. So that's why we are discussing this article. Coming to the context part, recently in 2019, the Supreme Court gave a historical verdict regarding the Babri Masjid case. Right? So in that particular case, the Supreme Court highlighted the significance of Places of Worship Act 1991. But now the petitions are increasing regarding us challenging the status of other mosques across India, especially claiming that the historical injustice was done by replacing the existing Hindu temples with the mosque. So Supreme Court set a mandate in 2019, highlighted the significance of Places of Worship Act, but now the conditions are changing, the petitions are increasing, the indecisiveness and the religious feelings are increasing. So from this context, you have to know about the legislation, and also we have to think from the analysis point of view how it will impact the secular fabric of the country. So moving ahead, the Places of Worship Act and its implementation. So the Places of Worship Act was enacted in 1991, and it highlighted that the religious characteristics of any places of worship during the independence, that is August 15, 1947, has to be maintained. And no conversion is possible after 1991. So this is the main objective of the legislation. And apart from that, Section 4 talks about the litigation of such any conversion has to be terminated immediately under this act. And also, there are some exceptions mentioned in this act as well. For example, places which are regulated under Ancient Monument Act 1958, then those places will not be considered under this act. And also, there is one more provision, one more exclusion was mentioned under the Section 5 of this particular legislation. It mentioned that if there is a peaceful settlement or mutual settlement between the parties, then it will not come under this picture. And also, the settlement or conversion happened before 1991 will also be not considered under this legislation. These are some of the exclusions that are mentioned in the Section 5 of this particular act. So this is with respect to the legislation. Now we have to think from the perspective of implementation. The legislation itself is clear, but the implementation we are facing some problem. The first one is the judicial response to the new petition. The lower courts are maintaining the silence, and also there is a lack of clear decisive action against such petition. So in this aspect, it is challenging or it is weakening the spirit of the Places of Worship Act. It is not only in the lower courts, even the Supreme Court is also expressing a mixed signal. So here it is uncertain that in some cases, even especially in the Gyanvapi mosque case, it agreed to hear the petition and also it agreed to re-examine the status. So here it is sending the mixed signal. So in 2019 judgment, it reaffirmed the significance of the Places of Worship Act, but here in the current occasion with respect to the Gyanbi map, the stand is little different. So here there is a possibility that it can undermine the legislation. And also it has to be seen from the perspective of political and social ramifications. The implications are very high because the uncertainty will be there and there is a possibility that the petition are motivated for the political interest ahead of election this year. So there is a possibility that it can affect the communal harmony between the society, the possibility of communal tension ahead of election. So that is possible. So in this aspect, it affects the secular fabric of the nation. Right? So this is with respect to the legislation and the implementation. But exam point of view, we have to know the role of judiciary and legislature in maintaining the balance between the historical injustice and also in ensuring the secular principles. So this topic I have discussed it as a mains practice question at the end of the session. So please watch the session till end. So next we are going to discuss an article related to the recent upsurge in the Ladakh region. So exam point of view, it is very important. So we have to relate this topic with the developmental aspects that is also possible, and also we have to relate or think from the perspective of internal security. So exam point of view, it has to be seen from the perspective of the consequence of abrogation of Article 370. So coming to the context, in 2019, Article 370, the special status for the Jammu and Kashmir was abrogated, and after that the restful state of Jammu and Kashmir was divided into two political units. One is Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir with legislature, and another one is the Union Territory of Ladakh without legislature. So here, immediately after 2019, series of protests and demonstrations are happening. But here, within the Ladakh, there are some peculiar issues. The problem of political underrepresentation. There is a problem of demographic as well as the identity crisis. So from this context, we have to know about the actual reason for the upsurgence of protest, and also we have to know about the demands put forward. So how we are going to relate these two with the examiners, that we can expect some direct question in the reasons point, that is possible, and also what we can do is we can use those demands as a possible alternative solution to have a peaceful settlement. So in this aspect, we have to use those points to the examination, right? So reasons for the protest, as I already mentioned, demographic crisis. So as of now, the most of them in the Ladakh are the indigenous people, and most around 80% of the people are tribal in nature. So here, because of the new developmentals which are proposed after 2018, there is a huge immigration of people, the non-local people into the region. It is creating a concern that their voice in the particular region will get affected. This is the first dimension. Second aspect, the concerns on the large-scale projects. So recently, the solar projects are proposed, mega solar projects are proposed in this region. So here, the concern from the Ladakh community is that there is a possibility that it will create a large-scale impact on the environment. The Ladakh is a pristine alpine environment. There is a possibility that such mega projects can have an impact on the region ecosystem, and also there is a possibility of consequent impact on the flora such as medicinal plants, and also fauna such as snow leopard and other wildlife organisms in the particular region. So this is the second concern they highlighted. And third, the political representation, lack of political representation. It is very important. Previously, before the abolition of Article 370, the Ladakh is having a representation in the Jammu and Kashmir legislature. around 4 seats were represented in the legislature assembly and 2 seats were given in the legislative council. But after the separation, the political representation, the scope for political representation is not there. It is administered by the executives, and around 90% of the funds were utilized by the non-elected representatives. Even though they are having the hill autonomous councils for Ladakh and the Kargil region, the political power is comparatively low. So this is with respect to the political representation. And also they are facing other social issues, the widespread problem of unemployment. So job creation after 2019 is not there. So previously they will participate in the job market in the rest, while the entire statehood they can migrate to the Kashmir and Jammu region, and then they can access to the jobs. But as it is divided into 2 political units, this migration and getting access to jobs from the other union territory is also limited. So here it has to be seen as a problem, social issue, and also there is some difference within the group itself. So it has to be seen in 2 different political groups. One is from the Kargil, so they are mostly Muslims, and the other from the Ladakh, they are mostly of a different religion, that is, they are representing the Buddhism and they are tribals. So here the representatives of the Kargil region wanted them to accede to the Jammu and Kashmir. So that is also another reason for the issue. But as of now, both the groups are aligned together and they are proposing the demands. So now we have to know about the demands of the protesters. So in 2021, the representatives from the Kargil Muslim minority community and the representatives from the Ladakh region together came up with a 4-point agenda. The first and foremost aspiration is to have Ladakh a full statehood. So why? Because in this aspect, they can have the legislature of their own. So in this aspect, political representation will be there. Access to fund will be there. By having access to the fund, they can spend those resources for the welfare of the community. So that is the first expectation. Second expectation, they are looking for 2 seats in the Lok Sabha, and also they are looking for the creation of State Public Service Commission. And most importantly, they are looking for the constitutional safeguard of the Hill Autonomous Council and in the 6th schedule. Yes, within the 6th schedule, the autonomous district councils of Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram and Assam are protected. Similarly, the Ladakh community is also looking for the similar constitutional safeguard for their autonomous district council. Because as of now, the existing institutions are having very less political power. So these are the aspirations put forward by the protesters. The union government have to consider those aspirations, because the political representation is very important. Restoring or giving a statehood to the region is also a considerable option. In this aspect, the political representation will be there, and by giving the political representation, consequent economic development and social development is possible. In this aspect, we can ensure peace and prosperity in the Ladakh region. Next, we have an article related to the sanction zone. So exam point of view, it is very important. So we have to know about 2 aspects. One is the Balkan region. So location, the maps point of view, we have to know that. And also we have to know about the basic factual details related to the sanction. We also had a previous year question in 2014 related to the location of Turkey. So nowadays, we are getting some questions from the places in news. So it is very important. We are also expecting some prelims questions in the upcoming examination. So that's why we are discussing this article. So coming to the context, recently, a small European nation, Kosova, got an visa-free access to sanction zone. So sanction zone is nothing but an area within the Europe itself. Within the region, the people are allowed to cross the border without the formal documents such as passport and visa. So this is what we call it as sanction area. And apart from that, there is one more factual detail. So Kosova is the last non-European Balkan nation to to have such visa-free access. So this is the context of this article. From this context, we have to know about what is meant by Balkan region, and we have to know about the basic details about the Schengen. Moving ahead, so Balkan region is nothing but a small triangular peninsular region in the southeastern parts of Europe. So it is better to call it as geopolitical region rather than a geographical region. Why? Because the concept of Balkan itself created during the creation of Yugoslavia during the early 20th century. So that's why it is better to call it as geopolitical region rather than the geographical region. So now we have to know about the geographical boundaries. The first one, the land boundary. So in the north, it is bordered by the Dinaric Alps mountain, and the Balkan mountain is a part of this Dinaric Alps. The Balkan mountain is entirely located in Bulgaria. So the naming of this region is based out of this mountain. So this is with respect to the land boundary. And next we have to know about the water boundaries. That is, we are having Black Sea in the east, and also we are having Aegean Sea at the bottom, that is southeast. And in the west, we are having Adriatic Sea and then Ionian Sea, right? A, B and A, I. So A, Adriatic Sea in the north, northwest, and then Black Sea, which is in the northeast. And then we are having, in the south, we are having Aegean Sea and Ionian Sea. So this is with respect to the geographical boundaries. And apart from that, we have to know about the political aspects as well. So this is Kosova. It is located at the center of the peninsula, and it is bordered by A, B, Albania and Bulgaria. And apart from that, it is sandwiched between two M's, that is Montenegro and Macedonia. Montenegro, mountain at the top, Montenegro at the top, and Macedonia at the bottom. Then we have to know about Serbia. So this particular state, the Kosova, is separated from the Serbia. So in 2018, it unilaterally announced its independence from Serbia, and it called it as a separate nation. So this is with respect to the political boundaries, political nations which is there in the Balkan region. Apart from these 6 nations, we are also having Greece and Bosnia-Herzegovina, and to an extent the parts of Slovenia and Croatia is also part of Balkan region. Right? Now we have to know about the concept of Schengen zone. So it is nothing but an area within the European Union, that is our Europe, in which the free movement of people is possible without formal documents. This is what we discussed already, right? It is an area, yes, comprising several European countries. Yes, it is also true that abolished passport and other types of border control at their mutual borders, right? So it was signed in 1985 under the Schengen Agreement. Schengen is nothing but a village, a small village in the Luxembourg country. And as of now, we are having 25 nations within the Schengen zone. So out of this 27 nations, 23 nations are European Union nations. So within the European Union, we are having 27 nations. So within this 27, like Romania, Bulgaria, Cyprus and North Ireland are not the part of Schengen. So those were part of European Union but not the part of Schengen. And apart from these 23 European nations, there are 4 other nations. One is Norway. Yes, Norway. Second one is Iceland. Then Switzerland. And Liechtenstein. So apart from the 23 European Union nations, we are also having these 4 nations. So when it comes to the conditionality, so the free movement is allowed for 90 days through air, land and sea within a period of 180 days. So next we have an article related to the pulse production. So exam point of view, it is very important. We have to think from the perspective that India is in need of increasing the pulse production because India wanted to ensure the population of nutritional security. So in order to ensure the nutritional security, the role of pulse is very important. We also had a previous year question in 2017 related to the advantages of cultivation of pulses. Whenever there is a topic, article related to the pulses, we have to pay attention because it is very important. The social dimension and health related dimensions are there. So that's why we are discussing this topic. We are expecting some prelims question with respect to the statistics that is also possible in the prelims examination, and also mains point of view with analytical directives is also possible in the mains examination. Coming to the context part, recently in the Global Pulses Conference, an annual meeting of pulse producers, processors, or the traders suggested that India have to increase the pulse production to ensure the nutritional requirements. So this is the context of this article. From this context, we have to know that the status of pulse production in India, and also we have to know about the government interventions and reason and the challenges which we are facing in terms of pulse production in India. So pulse production scenario in India. So pulses, the role of pulses is very important for the nutritional aspects as per the World Food Organization. It mentioned that every day the 60 grams of pulses, intake of 60 grams of pulses is very much needed for the balanced diet. It is known for the low fat protein and also amino acids, and also wide variety of vitamins and minerals are also there. So in this aspect, the pulses are very much important to ensure the nutritional security of Indian population. So coming to the production scenario, India is the largest producer, consumer, and also the importer. So this is the very unique trend. India is the largest producer, consumer, as well as importer, which means the production which we are doing is not enough to satisfy the consumption. That's why we are dependent on import, right? And also the most important concern is that the output, the production is production of the pulses is decreasing. The output is falling, and because of this reduction in the production, like we are relying more on import. So in this aspect, the food security is getting affected because we are depending on other nations for to satisfy our food related needs. Yes, food security is getting affected. And look at the numbers, 20%, the pulse covers 20%. It's a very good correlation, 20% in terms of cultivation area, but in terms of production, it is 7 to 10%. Area, it constitutes 20%, but when it comes to the production, it constitutes only 7 to 10%. There is a gap, right? Which means the productivity is comparatively low, and also the production is also comparatively low. So this gap is the reason for the dependence of imports. So try to remember this fact is very important. And also in 2023, there was a question related to the cultivation area, the comparison based question related to India and China. So this fact can be a possible statement in the examination. India ranks first in the area under cultivation and production. So cultivation and also production with 31% and 28%. So production in terms of area, and also the absolute production is also India is the first. So we have to know these numbers for the prelims point of view. So this is with respect to the pulse production scenario in India. So now we have to know about the problems. And more than 90% of the total pulse production is concentrated only in few areas, central Indian states and southern states. So for example, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra, Gujarat, Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu, and Odisha. Most of these central Indian states constitute the pulse production region. Right? 90% is concentrated in only few regions. So spatial aspect, there is a problem, and also the volatility in supply. So between the seasons, cropping seasons also, the supply of pulses is comparatively low, and also this problem is there in all the pulse crops. So volatility in supply, which means food security is getting affected. So as a state, we will be in a position to depend on the import, and also the price consequences will also be there because of such volatility, right? Second problem. And third problem, nearly 3/4 of the area under the cultivation of pulses are not irrigated. This is very important problem, which means the productivity will not be there. So in this aspect, the compounded annual growth rate also we can't expect. The production will be stagnant. So in this aspect, the production will get affected. The consequent yield will be low. So this is the map. Look at the total pulses yearly growth rate, very low. The growth rate is comparatively low. So not irrigated, concentrated in few states, and also volatility between the crops and also volatility between the seasons. In this aspect, dependence will also get increased, and also it will have the consequence on the price. Ultimately, it will end up in affecting the food security of India. So this is the problem. So now we have to know about the government interventions. So National Food Security Mission pulses. So under this scheme, the government is giving inputs related to the seeds, fertilizers, and technology related assistance to ensure or assist the farmers for the pulse production. This is the first scheme. Second one is PM Asha scheme for lentils. So within that, the government is trying to help the farmers to manage the price fluctuations. Within that, we are having 3 sub-schemes. One is price support scheme. So within this scheme, like the government will directly procure the lentils at the assured minimum support price. And second aspect, the price deficiency payment scheme. If a farmer is selling the produce to the market, if there is a difference in the price, if the price falls below the minimum support price, then the gap will be given by the government. And finally, the private procurement and stockist scheme. So in this scheme, under the scheme, the private players are given government support to procure the pulses at the rate of minimum support price. Now let's try some of the prelims practice questions. Coming to the first question. So which one of the following country is not a part of Balkan region? In 2023, there was a question related to the Congo Basin. Similar question was there in the previous year examination. That's why we are discussing this question. So option A, it is Greece. Yes, Greece is the southernmost country in the Balkan Peninsula. Bulgaria, yes, Bulgaria is also there. Serbia is also there. Only the Italy is not there. So option is Delhi. D. Yes, answer D is correct. Moving to the second question, consider the following statements. The private procurement and stockist scheme of Union government aims to guarantee the farmers the minimum support price for oil seeds, pulses, and copra. Yes, it is true. It used to happen through the private procurement. Yes, the statement is correct. India is the largest producer and exporters of millet. No, it is not millet, it is pulse. So in terms of area under cultivation, in terms of production, in terms of consumption, in terms of import, India is the first number. So that we have to know. So first statement is correct, second statement is wrong. So we are going with the option A, 1 only. Yes, answer 1 is right. Moving to the third question, consider the following statements. Some of the non-European Union nations are also part of the Schengen Agreement. Yes, it is true. For example, Norway. Norway is not a European Union country, but it is a part of Schengen zone. So apart from Norway, we are having the example of Switzerland, and also we are having the examples of Iceland. So first statement is right. Second statement, some of the nations from Balkan Peninsula are also part of European Union. Yes, it is true. Greece. So Greece is a part of Balkan Peninsula, and also it is a part of European Union. And third statement, some nations which are not a part of European Union and the Schengen area were given visa-free access to Schengen countries. Yes, the recent Kosova is an example for the statement. So all 3 statements are right. In 2023, there was a similar question regarding this pattern, like usage of some in these statements. There are 4 statements in 2023, and we were about to select the number of correct statements. So in this question, all 3 statements are right. So we are going with the option C, only 3. Yes, answer C is right. Moving to the fourth question, consider the following statements about the Constitution, application to Jammu and Kashmir Order 2019. It lead to the abrogation of Article 370. Yes, the statement is right. It created 2 union territories. Yes, it is also right. It gave Schedule 4 status to Ladakh. No. The constitutional safeguard was not there, but instead they created a statute, they created a legislature to give protection to the Autonomous Council. So third statement is wrong. So we are going with the option A, 1 and 2 only. Moving to the last question, consider the following statements. The electoral bond scheme was held invalid by the Supreme Court on the grounds of violation of right to information guaranteed under Article 19(1). Yes, it is true. Yes, the reason cited that it is anonymous in nature, it is affecting or it is violating the right to information that was protected under Article 19(1)(a) of Constitution. The test of proportionality recommends that the law to be least restrictive while there are no other equally effective methods to achieve its stated goal. Yes, this statement is also correct. We are going with the option D. Both the above statements are correct. Yes, Delhi is right. So now let's try one mains practice question. It has been argued that there is a trade-off between historical grievance and secular principles in India. In the light of the Places of Worship Act, do you believe that higher judiciary and the legislature can play an important role in ensuring the secular principles intact in India? So this question is very important and also highly relevant to the current context. So as of now, after the consecration of the Ram temple in Ayodhya, so relating to the Babri Masjid case, this question and the topic is very important, right? So in the introduction, what we can do is we can write the example that recently that the balance between the need for the balance between the historical grievance which was done in the past and also the need to ensure the principle of secularism is very much important. So start with the need for balance as an introduction and also highlight the role of legislature and also judiciary. So legislature, yes, legislative framework. We have to come up with the legislative framework. Yes, we already had the legislature, that is the People's of Worship Act that is there. But when it comes to the legislation, it has to reflect the pluralism and also the public discourse has to be there. The inputs from the people, inputs from the minority, input from the people has to be taken before legislation. And also in the policy formulation aspect, in order to address the historical wrongs, the government have to come up with the legislature have to come up with the interventions such as educational reforms, reservations to address the problem. So this is with respect to the role of legislature. Whereas judiciary, the judiciary have to ensure that such legislation are within the scope of constitutional principles and ensuring the principle of secularism. And also the role of judiciary is very important in interpreting the law. So this is the body part of the answer. And also in the conclusion, we have to mention that we need a holistic approach. Rather than the role of legislature, the role of judiciary, we need a holistic approach and the participation of all the stakeholders to address this problem, to ensure the balance between this historical wrongs and the ensuring the principle of secularism. So here the efforts to be complemented by the civil society and the educational reforms and responsible media is very much important. So we can conclude the answer in this aspect. So that's the end of the discussion. Thanks for watching.